This is Mr. Awesome Roy Shildt, and you're listening to Friday Night Fever. And don't get chumpatized.
All right, we're here. Welcome to Friday Night Fever. I'm Jack, along with...
I'm Buck.
We got Buck, and we also got...
1-inch biceps.
And we're joined by Mr. Awesome Roy Shildt. Welcome to Friday Night Fever.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
How's everything?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
I'm doing great.
How's everybody else doing here?
I'm doing good.
Has anybody here seen the new Guinness Book of World Records, the 2008 Gamers Edition?
No. I heard
how big is your audience?
Oh, well, we usually get a few thousand people download the show, sometimes more.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that the Guinness Book of World Records is a great book, and I bought 3 copies for myself, and I'm urging everybody to get themselves a copy.
See, so you made it into the Guinness Book of World Records again this year.
Yeah, they gave me an honorable mention for a score that I got back in 1985, so that was nice of them.
Yeah, what game was that for? Missile Command?
Yeah, Missile Command.
Now, were you the first gamer to be in the Guinness Book of World Records?
No, I mean, there have been gamers in there since 1984. I got in first in 1985, but I was in there for 3 years, 85, 86, and 87.
Mm-hmm. Did they stop doing it, or...?
Yeah, they stopped doing the Guinness Book in 1987. They didn't have anything in 1988. They were just having some problems with Twin Galaxies, so they stopped doing it.
Mm-hmm. Did you think the movie King of Kong was an accurate portrayal of Twin Galaxies and everybody involved?
Yeah, I was actually, yeah. I mean, you could see that the unethical things that were being done to Steve Wiebe. I mean, that was just really the surface of what they were doing. There was so much more going on besides that. That's just as much as they could capture.
Do you think that was, like that was bogus, that they went to, they didn't believe Steve Wiebe's record?
Yeah. What happened was, they condensed the story for the screen. Mm. The actual story was more complicated. It was so complicated you really couldn't do it in a movie because it would be too complicated for the audience to grab it all. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they changed the storyline a little bit to make it more understandable to the audience.
Hmm.
Like for instance, I bought Steve Wiebe a Donkey Kong board.
Uh-huh.
Remember that part in the movie?
Yeah.
Right.
Because his was broken.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem was he had a double Donkey Kong board instead of a Donkey Kong board. Mm-hmm. And the difference between a double Donkey Kong board and a regular Donkey Kong board is that a double Donkey Kong board has Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. together on the same board. You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
So what happened was he got his record on the double Donkey Kong board, which is the same as a regular Donkey Kong board, and they actually gave him the record for it. It was 947,000, which they gave him on the double Donkey Kong board. There was not a problem. But what happened was that took away Bill Mitchell's last record, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't like it, and I kind of rubbed it in on him. Not intentionally. I see, because back in 1985, Bill Mitchell was upset because I got in the Hall of Fame and he didn't. So he figured that because he had 5 scores and I only had 1 score, that he was more deserving to get into the Guinness Book of World Records in the Hall of Fame than I was. And then I explained to Bill back in 1985 that, true, you have 5 scores, and I only have 1 score, but my score is a super score, and your scores are basically mediocre. So even though I only have 1 score, I'm more deserving to be in the Hall of Fame than you are, blah, 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 blah. You follow what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
So 20 years later, all his scores are gone, and the Missile Command was still there and unbeaten.
Mm-hmm.
And the last score to go was the Donkey Kong. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was his last score, and he didn't have any, and I still had the Missile Command. So here it is, 2003, basically 18 and a half years later, and I say, you see, Bill, I told you so. I mean, here it is, 18 years later, and the Missile Command score is still there, and all 5 of your scores are gone.
Mm-hmm.
which pissed him off like you wouldn't believe.
Right.
So what they did was they took Steve Wiebe's Donkey Kong record, which was done on a double Donkey Kong board, and they put it in a separate category so that Bill Mitchell could reclaim his record on Donkey Kong.
Mm-hmm.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have proof to this. I mean, I have notarized copy of newspaper articles and everything else. This is the complicated version of what really went on there.
Yeah.
So they took Steve Wiebe's 947,000, which he got in 2003, stuck it in a separate category so that Bill Mitchell could retain his Donkey Kong record in the single Donkey Kong category, claiming that there was a difference between the two games when there was really a negligible difference. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the thing is, they never even told Steve Wiebe about it. You understand? He got that record in June, I think it was, and they never even told him. And in August, I found out about it. I said, "What's going on?" "Oh, we stuck his record in the double Donkey Kong category." "Did you tell him?" I got up to one of the Twin Galaxies referees. "Did you tell him about it? I mean, you take somebody's record and stick it in a separate category to downgrade it. You should tell him." I don't know. So I took it upon myself to track down Steve Wiebe, because I knew how sneaky and dastardly these guys are. And I finally caught up to him in November. And I told him, I said, "Hey, Steve, they took your Donkey Kong record and they stuck it in the double Donkey Kong category." He didn't know anything about it. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him what a bunch of snakes that Twin Galaxies was, and I said, they're really sticking it to you, blah, 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 blah. Bill Mitchell's full of crap, et cetera, et cetera. And what happened was, he couldn't use the double Donkey Kong board because Twin Galaxies wouldn't let him use it. It was basically an excuse to take down his score. So he kind of laughed at me. He thought, you follow what I'm saying?
Right.
He probably thought I was a little bit crazy. Who's this grown man telling me, who gives a crap? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He didn't care enough to buy a Donkey Kong board.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "I tell you what, Steve, I'll make you a deal. I'll buy you a Donkey Kong board, but you got to take down that record." So that's the reason why I bought him the Donkey Kong board. It wasn't really because his board was broken, but that was just a simplistic explanation of the situation, because the real one was it's just as detailed as what I just told you. Just wouldn't fit into the format of the story.
Yeah.
Which is basically to say a broken board, an unusable board. I mean, there's really no difference there.
Yeah.
So I bought him the Donkey Kong board. Now the thing is, I bought him that Donkey Kong board on my credit card. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought it from a guy in Utah,
Mm-hmm.
a distributor. I mean, he doesn't want to have anything to do with this story. Okay.
Right.
So I bought it from him, and he sent the Donkey Kong board directly from Utah and shipped it directly to Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I never touched the freaking board. It was never in my possession, so that gummy substance on that freaking Donkey Kong board, I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, the guy in Utah, he doesn't want to have anything to do with it. I don't know. I'm not responsible for how they did the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, how my name got on that box was because I was the guy who bought the Donkey Kong board.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never really seen the box. I don't know. I mean, maybe it wasn't a return address. There must have been another return address towards the top of the box that they omitted. Because I'm sure, because it came directly from Utah.
Mm-hmm.
But, this is too complicated, and you don't want to go into that, especially when the guy in Utah, he's afraid that these Twin Galaxies guys are going to harm his business, so he doesn't want to be involved in this at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a matter of fact, I mean, there was a whole thing going on about it. They were calling him up. The Twin Galaxies guys was calling his office, and his wife answers the phone. And, and I spoke to her on and off about what was going on. These Donkey Kong guys, these Twin Galaxies guys, they're just trying to bust this guy's balls. They're trying to take advantage of the situation. They don't want him to take down Billy's record. They give him a hard time, blah, 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 blah. Because, he had, after I bought him the Donkey Kong board, he had set another record. He set like a 900-something and another 999. I mean, he had submitted, between that 1,006,000 that he had submitted two other records before that.
Mm-hmm.
On tape that they didn't approve, that they gave him endless crap about. They didn't even go into that.
Mm-hmm.
But during that time, they were calling the guy in Utah and making his life miserable. I mean, it got to the point where I would call his office. His wife would pick up the phone, and before you could say anything, she'd go, "Who's this? Who's this?" you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, that's the level of craziness that this whole thing's gone to. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. It would be like a 5-movie miniseries if you told the whole the whole truth, the truth, and nothing but the truth. It would take forever. So they condensed it down a little bit. I mean, those Twin Galaxies guys were a lot sleazier than that movie made them out to be.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, on that double Donkey Kong board,
right,
Steve Wiebe had also beaten his Donkey Kong Jr. record on the double Donkey Kong board.
Right.
Okay? That double Donkey Kong record, that was in the Guinness Book of World Records, 2007. They denied his double Donkey Kong, but they still held up the double Donkey Kong Jr. Try and figure that one out, huh?
Yeah, really.
It's crazy. And then when the gig was finally up and they found out about the documentary and that the axe was about to fall, they took the Donkey Kong Jr. and then they stuck it into a different category 2 years later. It's all proof. I mean, I got proof up the yin yang.
Yeah.
I got certified documents and everything. I mean, these guys, it's unbelievable. I mean, the story would just go on and on and on and on.
Has there ever been a case where somebody actually has manipulated their board to gain a better
I don't know.
score or anything?
I assume there might have been. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I don't even know how that would be possible.
Yeah, especially with
I'm sure there's a way to do it. I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. You know, I mean, they Twin Galaxies, they never had. I mean, they never really approved tape scores in the beginning, but they changed because, they want to sell certificates and they want to get people involved. They want to award as many world records as possible so they can sell as many certificates as they can and sell as many of their books as they can, blah, 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 blah. So they kind of like bent the rules a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you think if they weren't making the movie at the time they were filming it, do you think Steve Wiebe would have just gave up and not pursued trying to get the record?
Oh no, he had the record. He had 1.6 million. I mean, let me tell you something. If you look on the Twin Galaxies website, they have this whole explanation about what went on at Classic Game Expo 2004. At Classic Game Expo 2004, they actually awarded Steve Wiebe and Bill Mitchell for getting over 1 million points, each of them. But they were tape scores, and there was no problem with it. They awarded them. They put them up in front of. I got footage of it because I sent a cameraman there to tape what was going on there. And, he was playing Donkey Kong, demonstrating his skills to Bill Mitchell, and what happened was they were trying to what happened was Steve Wiebe had turned in 1.6 million about a week earlier than Bill Mitchell had turned in like 1 million something or other. He had a higher score. You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned it in like a week earlier. Now, what I'm assuming, and I bet my life on it, what was happening, Bill Mitchell was observing Steve Wiebe's tapes, learning how to play better at his expense. He was filming his tape. He was taping his scores, and what he was doing, he was taping his scores with a date that was like 6 months previous to the actual date that he was playing.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To make it look like he already had the score on tape when he really didn't. He was just playing, in the shadow of Steve Wiebe.
Right.
Okay? So Steve Wiebe turns in 1.6 million, and a week later, Bill Mitchell turns in like 1.20 million or something. and he's saying that he made up some excuse that he didn't get it in the mail fast enough, blah, 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 blah. And he wanted Steve Wiebe to agree that they both got the record at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So that way it would be Bill Mitchell would be the bigger Donkey Kong champion because his score was higher.
Right.
Right? And Steve Wiebe was ready to go along with it, but I talked him out of it. I said, "Hey, Steve, they're trying to rip you off."
Yeah.
I mean, I bet my life that Bill Mitchell's he's been just using your tapes. He's been taping his scores with a previous date, trying to make it look like he had it on tape all along when he didn't. Blah 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 blah. You shouldn't go along with that. You're the guy who got 1 million points first.
Right.
Okay. And he didn't go along with it. They tried to get him to go along with it. That was that poster that they had that Walter talked about. So when he didn't agree that they both got it at the same time, that he was the first guy to get 1 million points, that's when they started going crazy. That's when they sent the guys out to his house to find something wrong with that with his board. I mean, at that point, they didn't even know I had sent them a board.
Right. They were just looking for something.
They got there, then they saw the box, but they were there with that intention even before they saw the box.
Yeah, if they didn't see
Okay?
the box, they
Not
would
that
just
it mattered
do
because
something else,
they called the guy in Utah, and he confirmed that he mailed it straight to him.
Uh-huh.
And 2 weeks later, after they had gone to his house, they go to Classic Game Expo 2004 and award him for getting 1 million points on Donkey Kong. And Bill Mitchell, too, at the same time. Because they already had the poster done up. Bill Mitchell had already convinced Steve Wiebe. He was so certain that he would get Steve Wiebe to go along with that, both gotten the score at the same time, that he already had the poster made up. And that's how crazy he is. And then Steve Wiebe at the last minute wouldn't go along with it, and then they had the poster, so they went through the whole ceremony anyway, and with some horse crap about, oh, we just made this poster up to sign it in case someone got 1 million points live.
Right.
You know, I mean, how stupid can you get to even believe that, you know?
Do you think
it just goes on and on and on and on and on. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Do you think there was anything bogus about the one video Billy Mitchell sent in where it kind of gets, it kind of like fades on the one side they show in the movie?
I assume that it was a good score. I don't know. I mean, it could have been a bogus score. I mean, the fact that Walter Day would approve that score like that just goes to show you what a puppet he is. I mean, you know, that's crazy to approve it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, I believe it was probably a good score. I mean, Steve Wiebe got a higher one. He's got a higher one since. I'm pretty sure that it was real, but to award somebody that score based on that tape was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way he sent it in, too. I mean, the heinous way. I mean, you know, the guy's got no balls at all. I mean, what can you say?
Well, since the movie came out, have you seen like a lot more people get involved in video gaming, you know, classic video gaming?
I don't know. I could see probably less people getting involved.
Right.
Who the hell wants to have anything to do with those guys? You see the way they ragged them on Howard Stern? They call them the kooks of Kong. Who the heck wants to be associated with a bunch of kooks? I mean, who in his right mind would send them a tape after seeing that movie? Would you?
No.
I'd probably run the other way, man. I'd be heading for Canada, man. I wouldn't want to have anything to do with those guys.
What do you think makes? What about like the classic games? Do you think make them, you know, still remembered so fondly and still played today?
Well, I mean, the classic games live in MAME. I mean, a lot of people play the MAME games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's not the same as the regular classic games. The classic games are, you know, the arcade version are generally a little bit harder than the MAME versions. I haven't really played them much. And since they took down my Missile Command score for bad behavior, you know, and they've been calling me a liar and a cheater and everything else. I felt compelled to buy a Missile Command game, and I was able to replay my score. So I feel good about that. I mean, you know, as far as Twin Galaxies is concerned, I don't want to have anything to do with them.
Yeah.
I mean, they banned me from the hotel. I mean, they wanted me to. They banned me from Fun Spot, and they even banned me from the hotel across from Fun Spot.
Well,
I mean, they all got together and complained about me to make sure I could never get a room there. You know.
What was the bad behavior?
I don't know. Just telling the truth about Bill Mitchell and telling the truth about what they do. And you know, I mean, if you've been checking the forums back in like 2003, 2004. I was just going on and on and on about what they were doing to Steve Wiebe. That all that stuff is kind of like in the past, you know. But I used to post on forums constantly about, you know, what Bill Mitchell was trying to do to Steve Wiebe.
Yeah.
So that, you know, anything that they could, you know, go on, you know, they're just trying to make trouble for me. They don't like anybody that messes with Bill. You know, Bill thinks he's God. So
boy, right.
Why do you
every
think
time he pulls out his checkbook, you know, those guys tremble, you know.
Yeah, why do you think he has such control over the Twin Galaxy?
Well, because he's got a lot of money and he gives a lot of money to him. As a matter of fact, Walter Day was in severe financial difficulties in 2003. He was being sued by his old website guys that were helping him. In 2003, and Billy came to the rescue and bailed him out. I don't know how much money he put up, but they changed it to a corporation, and Walter Day ended up with 51% of the stock, and Billy got some stock, and Robert Merzak got some stock. But basically, his old website guys were going to hang him by his balls until Billy bailed him out, and as a result, you know, now Billy has control of the whole situation. They pretend like Billy's out and Billy this and Billy that, but Billy owns the stock. So, you know, it's like Billy and Twin Galaxies are like two-headed Medusas or something. How to,
You never get to see him play live in the movie, Billy Mitchell. When's like the last time anyone's like seen him play live and like get like a high score?
I don't know, 1980 something, I guess. I mean, he got this new high score, $1,050,000 at this mortgage brokers convention. Like, like, okay, so what? It's like, if I took a machine down to the Howdy Doody show, I mean, who cares?
Mm.
He drags a machine into the mortgage brokers convention. There's like 3 people there, him, this guy named Todd Rogers, who's theoretically a senior referee, and puppet number 2, and he plays his game live. He's got a camera there, and he goes through all this song and dance, and to make it look like that he's trying to upgrade the verification process. But in fact is, it's not a part of a contest. I mean, if he really wants to be the King of Kong, he's going to have to play Steve Wiebe mano a mano, head to head.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what he's done, there's different qualities of Donkey Kong boards. My understanding is there's different types of boards, and they have different types of kill screens on them. I don't know much about Donkey Kong, but there's, like, for instance, in the movie it says like the Donkey Kong board at Fun Spot is possessed.
Right.
Remember that part? It was a really difficult board. But for every possessed Donkey Kong board, there's an unpossessed Donkey Kong board.
Right. That's easy.
So what Bill Mitchell has probably done, this is just intelligent speculation, he's probably played through like a couple of dozen Donkey Kong boards trying to find the one with the easiest play in it.
Right.
Because he's a millionaire. He can buy all the Donkey Kong boards that he wants.
Yeah, yeah.
And if he did doctor a Donkey Kong board, he probably paid some hotshot engineer to rewire his Donkey Kong board so people wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't think he would do that, but he might.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets this easy playing Donkey Kong board, and he goes off in this mortgage brokers convention. He plays on it. That's not a live score. A live score has to be part of a contest where your competition is aware of where and when you're going to play with enough time to get there to challenge you head to head.
Yeah.
That's what a contest is. That's what a live score is all about. It's a contest. If you look at my website www.shockandawesome.com, it has the pros from the Guinness Book of World Records in the 1980s. It's specifically telling you what a live score is really about.
Mm-hmm.
So that chicken shit by going to the mortgage brokers convention just goes to show you what a little cunt he really is.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put it any other way.
With today's technology, that's like the only way you could really decide who is the definitive champion is to play live.
It's one-on-one. I mean, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just gonna do it by himself and garner any advantage that he can for himself and take advantage of the situation as much as he can possibly get away with.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned your website, shockandawesome.com. Let everybody know you can also get your comic book off that website.
Yeah, I'm re-releasing it this July in San Diego Comic-Con, and you'll be able to order one by mail at that time. So I'm working on it. I'm going to republish it. I'm going to publish a couple of thousand issues, and I'm trying to sell as many as I can. So I've been working on that, yeah.
Yeah, cool. And when you buy them off your website, you get them autographed, I believe.
Yeah, I autograph them, and I put a thumbprint on it also to make sure that the autograph is authentic. Because
Yeah.
I always bothered me because I collect a lot of stuff. I got a lot of signatures, and if you read around in these collectible magazines, there's always an article about these forgery of signatures.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I figured it would be nice to give a thumbprint with the signature. If somebody's going to pay for a signature, at least you can do is give them a thumbprint with it. That's my attitude.
Yeah, that really seals the deal there.
Yeah. Like if you went to a convention or something and some celebrity was there giving out autographs and charging you for it, like they do at some of these conventions, at least they could do is put a thumbprint on it. Because that way, at least it would have at least some credibility for resale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
That's what I say. So, I like to practice what I preach. So, that's my attitude.
And one of the specials on on King of Kong, you actually yell out the website name.
Excuse me?
On one of the special features on the King of Kong DVD, they have a clip of you yelling out the Shock and Awesome website.
Oh yeah, that's on one of the Q&As at the San Diego Comic-Con.
Right.
Yeah, I was on the side there. I didn't get in fast enough, and one of the guys in the audience had said something about a comic book, and I told him I had a comic book available. It was coming out, and I was yelling out my website so they would hear it.
Is there any group that that looks to like preserve the games or restore them, because they were made so long ago? I guess they all have like a certain amount of shelf life, or that they might be going bad.
Well, they restore. I mean, there's a couple of companies out there that restores the boards.
Yeah.
And there's companies that redo the games. I mean, there's a couple of them in California. I mean, if you got on the websites and got on the internet and did a search, I'm sure you'd find some.
Right.
There's always somebody around that does it.
Mm-hmm. Did you play? Were you ever into Atari or anything like that? Or were you strictly
No, basically the only game I ever really played was Missile Command. I did put some time in on Crossbow. Mm-hmm. I was never as good as Don Nowert, but that's the only other game I really put any time in. I never played many of the games. I didn't have, that much kind of disposable income and time to invest in it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Bill Mitchell, you have to understand, like when he started playing in the early 80s, he was playing in his father's restaurant where he was basically playing the games for free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whenever someone who wasn't opening the game, he'd just take the key, open the machine, and click off a bunch of bonus credits and just play it for free.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a big advantage over everybody else. In the early 80s, those games were like $2,000 a piece.
Yeah.
Which is it was like buying a new car back then. So,
he got a lot more practice in.
You could get a good Toyota for $2,000, you know what I'm saying? So, and then a quarter, I mean, that's like $1 today. So, it's like if you wanted to get good at a game, you'd have to spend like $10 a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a big advantage when it doesn't cost you anything.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the players would have been teenagers or young adults too, so they wouldn't have a lot of money. Most of them.
Yeah, so he was just basically playing when nobody else was, unless they owned their own machine. So I mean, nobody really put in the time to play Donkey Kong or Pac-Man. It was just a handful of people. Mm-hmm. So. Not to besmirch him too much. I mean, he never. At the 1985 Player of the Year contest, he was there, but he didn't even play.
What got you into Missile Command? Why'd you pick that game?
I picked that game because that was the game that was available in the lobby of the student dorm that I was living at UCLA. I was living at this place called the Co-op, and somebody had put some games in the lobby and had made a deal with the management to split the quarters. So that's the reason why I played it, was there, and there was a whole big hoopy going on about it, So what happened was there was this guy named John, and he was always busting my balls about playing Missile Command because he's just trying to be aggravating, and that's the vehicle he decided to use. And he was playing Missile Command, and you say, "Oh, you muscle-headed, you can't play Missile Command, you're a punk," It's like. You're chicken and all that. So I started playing Missile Command just to beat him, and that's what started the whole thing.
When did you get the name Mr. Awesome, the nickname Mr. Awesome?
Well, it was from playing Missile Command, actually. I kept playing Missile Command. Eventually, I went on to beat John Manahan. I beat his ass good, and I just kept going, and I was like the Missile Command champion of UCLA in 1982. Mm-hmm. So. And one day, some chick pinched me on the ass and called me Mr. Awesome, so that's how it started.
Now, how did Missile Command champion go from playing Missile Command to being the real man contest winner in Playgirl?
Well, that was just part of my resume. I just put it in there. I mean, actually, the story is long. It's an involved story, but it's definitely, if you buy my comic book, it explains the whole story. It's like an autobiography comic book, so it's pretty entertaining. I sent a copy to Howard Stern. He liked it so much he put me on his show. So
yeah,
so it's true. It's true. I mean, you are aware of that, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you even have some quotes on your website.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen the Kooks of Kong. Like he has like part 1 and part 2 of the Kooks of Kong with Howard Stern. I saw it on the internet. It's on YouTube. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yep.
I mean, has he ever said anything about me yet?
I was watching them trying to find because I actually searched for you on YouTube, but I don't think he's mentioned you on any of the ones I've seen. But I saw that you have quotes from your appearance on Howard Stern.
Really?
Yeah. Don't you have?
There's so much stuff out there. I don't have the time to go after it all. So.
Right.
So yeah, I was just wondering what he was saying about me now, because I know he was going after those guys pretty tight, and since I was on his show, he was bound to notice that I was in the movie. So I'm sure I'm sure he's going to say something about me, unless he's just trying to not say anything at all. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think they'll make a follow-up movie? There's also talks that they're going to make like an actual movie, like write a script and have actors play the roles.
Yeah, well, New Line's planning on doing that.
Mm-hmm. Will you be a character in that movie?
I guess they'll probably use something of a Mr. Awesome type of a character, but I don't think they're going to use my name. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll use all the real names or not.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I think if the showdown ever does happen, they definitely have to have a sequel to the documentary.
Well, maybe they'll have a showdown for the actual film. You never know.
Yeah.
Do you think there has been any good films made off a video game?
From what I hear, people don't say they've never seen any really good films, except for the King. The King of Kong is the only one that's like really made the cut as a good film.
Yeah.
From what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
So, I really haven't seen any. I mean, they had this Tron film back in the '80s that didn't do so well, and they've had a few other ones.
Mm-hmm. I guess The Last Starfighter. That's not really based off a game, but it's got video games in it. Yeah,
well, I don't think so. I mean, that's what people say. I haven't really seen any myself. Mm-hmm. I don't watch that many movies, but...
Yeah. What are your thoughts on pinball?
Pinball?
Yeah.
I never played it much myself.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't have much to say about pinball. It's I guess as good a pastime as any.
What's like the most important skill like involved in playing one of the classic video games?
Well, if you look on my website, I'm trying to put forth the notion of declaring a pentathlon on the classic games.
Right.
Because, well, for instance, at this place called Fun Spot, they have like a contest there every year for like classic games, but you never know what machines they're going to choose.
Right.
Now, if you talk to the guy in charge, a guy named Gary Vincent, he doesn't let anybody know what machines he's going to pick until the actual day of the contest.
Mm-hmm.
You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which doesn't really make much sense to me. It's like if you went to the Olympic Games. Suppose you were an athlete training for the Olympic Games and you wanted to compete in the decathlon, but you didn't know what the 10 events were going to be.
Yeah.
Right.
And the host country declares it the day of the Olympics, and they say, "Well, don't worry, we didn't tell anybody else."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, how foolish is that?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm saying that you got to pick out the 5 top video games that really are what the classic video game playing is all about, and stick with those, and turn that into a pentathlon, so that future generations will know exactly what a world-class video game player is all about.
Mm-hmm.
That's my idea. But Twin Galaxies never went along with it. The first thing you would say is, well, why not? It's because Twin Galaxies is controlled by so many mediocre people, they would never be able to win a real contest. So, like, say, for instance, Bill Mitchell, who had the 1985 Player of the Year, didn't even play.
Right.
Okay? And meanwhile, his friend Chris Ira, who also has a perfect Pac-Man, plays dead last behind an 8-year-old kid. So, it's like that control Twin Galaxies, they don't want any real contest out there because they know they'd never be able to win it. I mean, they're all so high in themselves for getting a world record on one of these, that nobody ever really cares about. The last thing they want is like a real contest that they know they can't win. Mm-hmm. So as a result, the hobby in and of itself suffers because nobody really knows, how do we really figure out who the best player is? How do we have a real contest? How do we have an enduring contest? How do we have a contest where people can actually put some time in and expect a reasonable return on the results? And the answer is you don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so
that's my feeling on the situation.
Yeah. Well, let everybody know again. You go to chalkandawesome.com, and we'll have the URL up on our website, and you can pick up the comic book, Mr. Awesome: The Comic Book Life of Roy Shildt.
San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah,
I'm not sure where I'm going to be, but I'll have it up on the website. People know exactly where I'm going to be selling those books. So
excellent. Yeah, and if you're going to be there, I guess I can come up and talk to you.
Yeah, are you going to be there?
I won't be there, but I'll have to see if you're anywhere near me one of these times. I'm way on the East Coast.
Okay. I get out there like once every decade, so
Right. Yeah, I'm real far out there. I'm on Cape Cod, Massachusetts.
Okay.
But anything you want to tell everybody out there?
Excuse me?
Anything you want to tell, like all the fans of the movie or fans of your comic book out there?
No, I think I've said everything I need to say. I appreciate the time. Hope I've entertained your audience.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there any specific questions? Do you have a question and answer period or something that you want me to indulge in? Or?
Here in our chat room, Norrin, he wants to know what your stance on arcades versus home consoles.
Arcades versus home consoles?
Yeah.
Well, I really don't have it that much. I guess home consoles are home consoles and arcades are arcades.
Right.
If as far as Twin Galaxies is concerned, you can get a record on either one. So.
Right. Well, we appreciate you coming on tonight.
Well, thank you very much. I hope I did a good job for you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Definitely. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
All right, if you want me to come on again, you give me a call.
Okay, cool.
Hey, this is Danny Bonaducci, and you are listening to InYourHeadOnline.com.